loving God in heaven,
Mwari
here
wedu
we are at
kudenga,
the end of another week, and we
tauya
thank you
zvakare
for all your
pakupera
blessings.
kwevhiki. Tichikutendai
We thank
nezvikomborero
you
zvese.
for your watch care over us, for your
Tichikutendai
loving kindness,
nekutarisa
for your
kwamunoita
truth. And as we come
nekutida
together
kwamunoita
tonight,
nechokwadi
we
chenyu.
ask
Apo
for your
tinouya pamwe
presence.
chete mausiku
Bless
ano,
us as we
tinokumbirawo uvepo
study
hwenyu.
things that are
Tikomborerawo apo
relevant to our
tinodzidza zvinhu
message, but we
zviri
also
relevant
pray
kumeseji
for
yedu.
deeper
Tinoona
understanding of
matarawo
all those things that have
kunzwisisawo
been
kwakadzama
taught, that we
kuzvinhu
would
zvese
be
izvi
more
zvakadzidziswa
solid on them.
kuti
Pray
tive
for
tiri
your
solid
guidance in
pazviri,
what is being said,
tichinamatirawo kutungamirirwa kune
we
zvakataurwa,
leave ourselves in your care. Thank you, good
tichizviisawo
God, for
mumaoko
this
enyu. Tokutendai Mwari
privilege of
neprivilege iyi
being part of the end time movement.
yekunge tiri pati
Help us to take it
yemovement
to heart and
yekupedzisira.
mind. We ask in
Tibetserewo
Jesus'
kuzviisa
name.
pamwoyo
Amen.
nepapfungwa, tozvinamata muzita
Okay,
raJesu.
so
Amen.
we are studying
Saka tiri kudzidza
atheism at the end of the world.
atheism.
We went to the beginning of the world and we looked
Takaenda
at
kwekutanga
the
kwenyika
Tower of
tikatarisa
Babel.
Tawa
Can
reBhabhoro.
anybody tell me the two
Ana anogona
principles that we
kutiudzawo
took away, the
maprinciples
two
maviri here
characteristics of the Tower
atakatora,
of Babel that
macharacteristics
we've
maviri
taken
etawa
away so far?
reBhabhoro atakatora pari
We reviewed
nhasi.
last week.
Takazvidzokorera vhiki rapera. Ray.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if these are the ones that were reviewed last week, but
Sorry, handisi kuti ndo
was
amakarivhiwa last week here.
self-exaltation, self-promotion,
Pakaine self-exaltation,
along those
self-promotion.
Okay, did you watch last week's
Zvakada
Ray?
kudaro.
I didn't get a
Wakaona here
chance to
last
yet.
week here Ray.
So it's
Aiwa,
taking a
ndinokuona
stab in the
mukana.
dark.
It's all right. So you're half right, Josephine?
Oh,
Ndiri
then
half
I'm
right,
half right
Josephine.
too. The same things
Saka
I
ndiri
was going to
half right.
say
Ndanichangozotarawo
that Raymond
zvakafanana.
said.
Zvataurwa naRaymond.
Okay, so self-exaltation,
Self-exaltation.
self-promotion, yes, that they are
Self-promotion.
different but similar. And then there's
Zvakada kufanana asi
something
zvakasiyana.
else.
Pane chimwe zvakare.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation. Kuzvichengetedza.
Self-exaltation, and that includes self-promotion, yes, the horns and the gadar, the hubris, and self-preservation.
Uye kuzvichengetedza. Self-preservation.
Whoops, I'm just about to write the wrong one again. Okay, they needed to escape a flood. They needed to escape a global catastrophe that could possibly cause their extinction. And as we look down the characteristics of the Tower of Babel, we could see that those people ticked all the boxes that we learned from Daniel chapter 8, and how counterfeit religion closely mimics the true. You always have to have an original to be counterfeited. And so the Tower of Babel was a counterfeit of God's religion, as explained in Daniel chapter 8, that self-exaltation, the need of a deliverer, and we looked at all those things. So one of the things we noted with Daniel chapter 8 is that it goes from the daily to the abomination that makes desolate, and yet it's all the daily. It's paganism, spiritualism, it is the spirit of self-exaltation and self-preservation that goes right through history. Self-promotion included there. It's just that it changes according to the dispensation that it's in. So something that is acceptable at one period of Earth's history then becomes unacceptable.
Then chozotadza kugamuchirika.
We could use the example of
togona kushandisa muenzaniso
human sacrifices.
where
Human sacrifices were the
masacrifices evanhu.
epitome
Ma-human sacrifices
of pagan worship.
ndo
But
kwakanga
that
kuri
over time that
kumusoro-soro kwepagan
gets
worship.
taken away, and we see the
Pese
abomination of
panobviswa
desolation has its own
paganism
form of human
daily,
sacrifices.
tinoonawo
It's far
abomination
more
ine
civilized
fomu
and in
yayo
keeping with
ye-human sacrifice
its
iri
period, its
civilized,
dispensation.
asi inenge
Even,
yakufambiranawo
count
nedispensation
1260
yayo
years,
kunyange mu-1260
even
years,
the persecution
kunyange
ends
persecution
towards the end of those 1260 years
inenge
because of
ichizoperawo
changes in
kupera
society,
kwemakore
changes
1260 nekuda
in the
kwekushanduka
cultures.
kwesociety,
And
kushanduka
yet
kwemaculture,
it's still there. It's just
asi inoramba ingoripo,
changing in appearance over
asi
time,
inongochinja
if that makes
kuratidzika
sense.
kwayo nguva dzese kana
So it's the daily all the
zvichimeka
way
sense.
through.
Saka
It's just going to look
daily
more acceptable as we go through history.
inongowedzera
The
kugamuchirika hayo apo
counterfeit always
tichifamba nehistory.
follows the true, and it
Counterfeit
can come very
inoteedzera
close.
nemonemo zvokwadi
So
ichienda padhuze dhuze.
we noted how the papacy
Takatarisa tikaona kuti
just
papacy
legitimized
yakalegitimiza paganism,
and it was just a continuation really of the daily.
kwakungori
Look more
kucontinue
refined,
kwedaily,
more cultivated by wearing
yakawedzera
Christian garments.
kutsetsenura ichiwedzera kupfeka
So
magamenzi echikristu.
self-promotion,
Saka
self-exaltation,
kuzvikwidziridza,
that's obviously not a good thing.
kuzvisimudzira
What about
ndo
self-preservation?
kuzvichengetedza chii?
Any thoughts about self-preservation?
Pane
Isn't it
vanofunga here
innate in us that we
nekuzvichengetedza?
don't want to die, or that
Hazvisi here
we
matiri
want
kuti
to
hatidi
protect
kufa
ourselves?
kana kuti toda kuzvichengetedza?
Any thoughts
Pane ane kufunga
about
here
self-preservation?
nekuchengetedzeka kwemunhu? Graham.
So, yes, I think we are inbuilt with self-preservation in one sense because we have a flight or
Ndofunga
fight
kuti
system
tinovakwa
within us.
tine
We have
kuzvichengetedza matiri nekuti
certain
tine flight or
things
fight
within us that
system
are just we're made
iri
that way.
matiri,
But I think that the
takagadzirwa
self-preservation that
takadaro.
we're referring to here
Asi
is
ndofunga kuti
putting oneself
self-preservation
above
yatiri kutaura apa
others,
ndeyekuzviisa
almost like a
pamusoro pevamwe,
hierarchy
sekunge
in
hierarchy
terms of
maererano
maybe social standing. It's like a patriarchal
nekumira
system
kwaunenge
where
uri
men are at the top
musociety,
and then everybody
sepatriarchal
else is
system,
below.
varume vari pamusoro vamwe vese vari pazasi.
Okay, so it's a self-preservation that is
Saka
determined
kuzvichengetedza
by making sure you get
kunodeterminwa nekuona
saved
kuti iwe
above somebody else,
unoponeseka
perhaps.
pamusoro pemumwe munhu. Ndozvauri kutaura?
Yeah, that was my thought. Putting yourself
Wangu.
above others in
Kuzviisa pamusoro
a
pevamwe
very
vanhu
selfish way, not just
nenzira
your
iri
own personal
selfish,
life being
kwete
saved.
upenyu hwako
That we see
chete
in a
huri
flight or fight
kusevhwa,
response
zvatinoona
when we get into an
kana munhu
emergency
achitiza
situation.
kana tiri maemergency.
It kind of reminds me of Daniel chapter 8, where
Zvinondifungidza
the
Daniel
two
8 apo
powers tread down
masimba maviri ayo
God's host and God's
anotsika-tsika
sanctuary. They come on
sanctuary
top of them. They have to tread
yaMwari
them down
nehost yavo.
in order
Vanofanira
to
kuenda pamusoro pavo vatsika-tsika
make sure that they don't lose
kuti vaone
anything,
kuti
that
ivo
they are
havaluzi
on
chinhu,
top. They,
voona kuti ivo vari pamusoro.
yeah, it's part of lifting oneself up is treading down somebody else.
Part yekuzvisumudzira iwewe
Ray?
kutsikirira mumwe munhu pasi. Ray.
Yeah, my first thought
Pfungwa yangu
was how their
yekutanga
self-preservation was.
yaiva
It
yekuti
started in
kuzvichengetedza uku
the
kwakatanga
denial of God. Like
mukuramba kwavo
they knew that
Mwari.
there'd been a flood, but they
Vaiziva kuti papaine
denied God.
flood,
So
asi vakaramba
it
Mwari.
was
Saka
yeah, kind of based in that, like, God doesn't exist, but we know there was a flood and we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So it's very much
asi kwakaita flood.
what they could do to save themselves.
Saka zvaiva zvekuti voita sei kuti vazvichengetedze vazviponese, kwete kuti Mwari angaita sei kuti avaponese.
Thank you. It's something they accomplish on their own.
Chinhu chavanozviitira vega vasina Mwari. Josephine.
Yeah, I was thinking about Babel.
Hongu ndandichifunga nezveBhabhel.
They wanted self-preservation,
vaida kuzvichengetedza
they built the tower. And today
vakavaka
we have
tawa. Nhasi
atheism,
uno tine atheism.
and their aim is self-preservation.
Aim yavo ndeyekuzvichengetedza.
But in a different way
But
altogether
nenzira
from, it's like in a
yakasiyana.
modernized way from
Nenzira iri
the Tower of
modern.
Babel. They're not building
Kubva
a
kuTower of
tower.
Babel. Havasi
They're
kuvaka tawa.
educating people
Vari kudzidzisa vanhu kuti
to what shall I say, to try and preserve resources or what for the future
kuti vachengetedze
the population.
resources kuitira future
in the minds.
yepopulation mupfungwa dzavo.
Okay. I guess my question is, what's wrong with that?
Pfungwa
What's wrong
dzangu
with
dzadziri kuti chii
self-preservation?
chakashata
Is there something
nezvozvo
innately wrong with that?
nekuzvichengetedza. Pane chinhu
Very
chakashata here
selfish.
mazviri.
It's a small group of people.
Pane vanhu vashoma vanenge vari
It's
selfish.
like making a distilling the population to a purified group of elite
Kudistilla population kusvikira
I may not
yaane
be
vanhu
explaining it well,
vakapurifiwa
but
No, that's
vashoma
good.
shoma.
Thank you, Josephine. Molly?
Maita basa Josephine. Molly?
My thought is that, they,
Pfungwa dzangu ndedzekuti
because of the experience that I had with the flood,
nekuda kweexperience yavakaita neflood,
they really wanted to exalt themselves to a point where
vaida
they don't need
kuzvikwidziridza
any
kusvikira
help from God,
papoint yekuti
and they
havachina
wanted to really
need
now
yehelp
do
kubva
everything
kuna
in their
Mwari.
power to preserve
Vava kuda kuita zvese izvi musimba
not only
ravo
the planet
vega,
but also themselves.
kwete nyika chete asi
It's
ivo
sort of a
pachezvavo,
rebellion,
kunze kwekuti aite
sort of
marebellion
ideology behind it.
nemaideology ari behind
Okay, so
izvozvo.
you've linked that to rebellion.
Okay, saka
Thank you, Molly.
tinozviratidza kuti irebellion. Waita basa
Rachel?
Molly. Rachel?
I think it can be seen as both. I think it can be that
Kufunga
natural,
kuti zvinogona
looking
kutaurwa
after
zviri
yourself.
zviviri kuti kuzvitarisa
In that
uchizvichengetedza
way,
zviri
it's looked
natural.
at the extreme of
Nenzira iyi
self-preservation
takatarisa
and maybe in the context
self-preservation
of
iri extreme
nationalism,
mucontext yenationalism,
thinking to
chifunga
preserve your gender or your
kuzvichengetedza
race. I think
gender
that's
yako
when
kana
it can
race yako.
become extreme and
Zvinogona
damaging.
kunge zviri
Just a
extreme
thought.
zvichidhameja. Ngofunga
Nice
kwangu.
thought. When you said that, it reminded
Pfungwa
me of being
dzakanaka.
on an airplane.
Wandirangadza kunge munhu
And
uri
you've got to
mundege.
take the oxygen mask to yourself before you give it to the child. So there is.
Unofana
So when I say
kuzvipa
is
oxygen
it
usapa
something wrong with
mwana.
it, you would say
Pane
depends.
zvakashata here. Unoti zvinodependa.
Yeah, exactly.
You-
Depends. Depends how you use it.
Yeah. There's a time when you've got to strengthen
Pane
yourself
nguva
in order to
yaunofana
help others. So it
kuzvisimbisa
really
kuti
does
ugone kubetsera
depend
mumwe. Saka
in
zvinodependa.
going on from what you said. Thank you, Rachel.
Kuchibva
And
nezvawataura.
Lynn?
Waita basa. Rachel?
The thoughts I had, that there
Pfungwa
must be, it might
dzandandinadzo.
be a little bit like freedom,
Panofanira
where
kunge paine
there's a good and there's a
freedom.
bad.
Apo paine
So a certain
zvakanaka
amount of
poita
freedom is
zvakashata.
fine unless it's not
Pane
governed
certain
by
amount
something else.
yefreedom
So a certain amount of
yakanaka kunze
self-preservation
kwekuti
is
isiri
fine so
kugavhenwa
long as it's
nechimwe chinhu.
governed by
Pane
something else. And the other thing that
self-preservation
I thought of
amount
was
iri right
comparing and
kunze kwekuti isiri
contrasting
kugavhenwa.
with the Bible. It says, greater love hath
Ndafunga
no man than
kucontrast
this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. So, you know,
nevhesi yataurwa.
God laid down his life.
Mwari
So
vakatipa
basically,
upenyu hwavo.
it depends on the principle
Vakarasha
that's
upenyu
ruling
hwavo.
that
Zvofana kuti
self-preservation.
principle
It's not that it has to be wrong of
kutonga
itself, but if it's ruling,
self-preservation
then
iyoyo
that's a
haina
problem.
kushata pachezvayo, asi kana iriyo iri kutonga ndo
Yeah,
panoita
good. That kind of ties
dambudziko.
in with what Rachel and
Waita basa.
with
Zvakada
Molly saying
kufanana
rebellion.
nezvataurwa
Like if
naRachel naMolly.
rebellion,
Kana rebellion
anti-God is behind your sentiment, then
uchipikisa Mwari
there's
zvirizvo
something
mudzi
wrong with that.
wezvinhu zvako
But
zvinhu zvakashata.
when what you've said, Lynn, reminds me of
Asi
Gethsemane.
linhu zvawataura zvanoti maenda
So
Getsemani.
that Jesus struggled with the
Jesu
temptation to
akatambudzika
preserve himself.
netemptation
And
yekuzvichengetedza.
that was a time when he had to lay down his
Pane
life
nguva
for his
yaifana
people.
kupa upenyu
But
hwake kuitira
the
vanhu.
previous Passover, he did preserve himself. He didn't go
Asi
to
Passover
Jerusalem, he
iyi
stayed in Galilee.
kumashure
If he had gone to
akazvipreserve.
Jerusalem, he would have died a year earlier. So that was self-preservation, but it was for the
akatoita
great good.
self-preservation.
It
Otherwise
wasn't a
akafa
self-preservation
early.
based on
Yaisiri
himself.
self-preservation
It
iri
was
based on
for
iye pachezvake, asi
the good of
zvaiitirwa
the movement.
kuti movement iendere mberi
So yes,
zvakanaka.
motives,
Saka
timing,
mamotives
etc. all come
netiming
into play there.
zvese
Thank
izvi
you, Lynn.
zvinouya
Very good.
pamwe chete.
Just
Waita
as
basa
an exercise, these are antonyms.
se-exercise.
So an antonym is what? It's
Aya
a
ma-antonym. Saka antonym chi?
word that is opposite.
Iword riri
So what is the
opposite.
opposite of self-preservation?
Opposite
The
ye-self-preservation
opposite of it
chi?
is self-denial,
Opposite pane
selflessness,
self-denial,
unselfishness, altruism,
selflessness,
benevolence, philanthropy,
unselfishness,
generosity, charity,
altruism,
liberality,
mamwe mazwi ari
and the
kutaurwa.
list goes on. So even in just looking at what the
Saka
dictionary says is the opposite
mukungotarisa kuti
of
dictionary riri kuti
self-preservation,
chi?
we
Opposite
get an insight
ye-self-preservation.
into what it is.
Tinoona kuti
This is what it
chi?
is not.
Kuti
But
izvi ndo
I like
zvaisiri.
the idea that it will depend on
Ndinoda idea yekuti
what you're trying
zvinodepend
to preserve. Are
nekuti
you
uri
trying to
kutraya
preserve
kuchengetedza chii.
self?
Traya
If you are
kuzvichengetedza
trying to
iwewe
preserve
here.
self,
Kana
then
uri
you are
kuzvichengetedza iwewe,
selfish. It's
then uri
what you're trying to
selfish.
preserve. You may
Ndo
need
zvauri
to
kutraya
take that
kupreserve.
oxygen mask to yourself
Unofanira
first
kubvisa oxygen mask
so that you can preserve the child sitting next to you.
first.
So it's not just about self.
Kana kuti ugopa mwana ari panext pako hazvisi zveiwewe chete.
Okay, thank you for that.
Alright, maita basa neizvi.
So, Tower of Babel, what were
Saka
they trying to preserve
Tower of
themselves from?
Babel vaizama
God,
kuzvichengetedza kubva
Holly
kuchii?
said,
Kuna
and
Mwari
the
sezvataurwa naMwari.
existential risk of another flood.
Existential risk yeimwe flood zvakare.
So they built a tower
Saka vakavaka tower
to escape from this
kuti
existential
vanzvenge
risk. And as we
kubva
come down to the end of the
kuexistential
world, we
risk
see
iyi.
that there are
Patinouya
many
kumagumo
towers
enyika
being built
tinoona kuti kune
to
matawa
escape
akawanda ari
existential
kuvakwa
risks.
kuti vanhu
What are the things
vanzvenge
that people are
existential
putting in
risk.
place
Zvimwe zvezvinhu zviri
to
kuiswa nevanhu panzvimbo
save
kuti
themselves at the end of
vazvisevhe
the world?
zviko
So first of all, we
kumagumo
went through
enyika.
and listed a lot
Chekutanga
of existential risks.
talista
And I just want
ma-existential risk
to
akawanda.
talk about that for a minute.
Ndoda kungotaura
In that,
kweizvozvo
when we talked
pachinguvana.
about these existential
Patakataura
risks,
nezvema-existential risks aya.
I'm not talking about the type of things
Handisi
that you would
kutaura nezvezvinhu
find
zvaunogona
in
kuwana
a tabloid newspaper,
munewspaper
in
retabloid,
some sort of sensational magazine.
mamagazini
These
aya ari
are
sensational.
what scientists, engineers, philosophers,
Ama-scientists,
politicians
ma-engineers,
seriously
ma-philosopher,
consider are
ma-politicians
risks to
vanoconsider
humanity.
zviri serious ma-risks
So much so
kuvanhu.
that much
Zvakanyanya
money
zvakadaro
and
zvekuti
time is
mari
being funneled
yakawanda
in
nenguva
to
zvinoiswa
understand these
zvichidururwa
existential risks and what
kuti
they can do
vanzwisise
to prevent them.
ma-existential risks
So I'll
aya
just
nekuti
give you
zvinogona kuzviita sei kuti
so this is called the Center for the Study of Existential Risks that's run out
Spinozzi
of
Center for the
Cambridge.
Study of Existential
We
Risk
are
inoranwa
dedicated to the study
nevecambridge.
and mitigation of risks that could lead to human
Tinodedicata
extinction or
kukudzidza
civilization
nemarisk
collapse.
nemastadi anolida
And
ku-extinction yevanhu.
even if we go down and meet our team, if we were to go to the
Tikadzika
team,
zvakare tichitarisa team
you'll see
Muchaona
many learned people
vanhu
on
vakawanda
this team. We
vakadzidza
bring together some of the
pateam
best
iyi.
minds from academia, technology
Vanounza
and policy
mamainzi
to
akawanda
collaborate on our
ekumaacademics,
shared
kupolisi
challenges.
nezvese
So
zvataurwa
notice
kuti
that threefold
vabatane
union:
pamachallenges aya
academia,
anoshayiwa.
technology,
Threefold
policy,
union:
policy,
academia,
politics.
technology,
The
policy,
co-founders, notice
politics.
there's Jan Talon, billionaire.
Pane talent yevanhu vachidiki,
Skype, made his money
mabillionaire.
from Skype. And
Pane
all
uyu akaita mari
these
yake kubva kuSkype.
philosophers, research assistants, etc.
Maphilosophers,
Just go
maresearchers,
down
maassistants vese
to the bottom,
tichidzika kuenda kuzasi zasi.
alumni, and we have the no, we don't want the management board. That's very good. Scientific advisory board.
Tine
Nick
ma-scientific
Bostrom
advisory board,
is one
Nick
that we will be
Bostrom
looking at.
ndiyo mumwe watichange tichitarisa.
Who else is there?
Pane umwe zvekare.
Here we go, Peter Singer. Another one
Peter
we will be
Singer.
looking at.
Umwe wachange chitarisa zvakare.
This one is the one from Oxford.
Uyu ndiye weOxford.
And this is the Future of Humanity Institute.
Future of Humanity
Institute joins DeepMind, OpenAI, Facebook, Amazon, and others in a partnership on AI. FHI is a multidisciplinary research institute at the University of Oxford. Academics at FHI bring the tools of mathematics, philosophy, and social sciences to bear on big picture questions about humanity and its prospects. The institute is led by founding director Professor Nick Bostrom. Again, that name will come up a few times. And I should have looked up this. This is Oxford and Cambridge we've looked at, but there's one in America, and I meant to bring that up and forgot. So that'll do for now. So we're not looking at tabloid fears. We're looking at what looks very, very real to a lot of learned people. So one of the towers that they've built to deal with this is called long-termism. So we looked at long-termism. I'll just write existential risks. And long-termism is one of the it's not too good, is it? One of the philosophies that we've been looking at. It is long-termism is the philosophical idea that the long-term future of humanity is way more important than the present, and that those alive today should make sacrifices for the good of all the generations to come. The key argument of long-termists is that our planet will remain habitable for a few billion years, which means that most people who will ever be alive are yet to be born. What we did is we looked at some graphs to show some of their predictions of how many people would, in their probability and their calculations, would be alive in the future, given that the life of a mammal is around, average 100,000 years, and we've only had around 300,000 years, we should have a good length of time left. The difference between us and other animals is that we have technology, we've developed, we should be able to far exceed that time limit of an ordinary mammal. So a conservative estimate is to assume that our planet will be populated by at least 1 billion people for at least 1 billion years. So that's 1 billion human life years. With today's typical lifespan of 100 years, that'd be about 10 to the 16 human lives. So
10 to
I'll just
16
draw this
human
backwards.
lives.
1, 2, 3, 6. 13, 14, 15, 16. That's about how many people would about how many people there could be alive in the future, which far outweighs the amount of people that have lived in the past and are living at the present. So that's the potential, unless there's an existential risk. If we go extinct. So the first and foremost priority of long-termists is to minimize existential risks. This includes events that could
existentialist.
lead to human
Izvi
extinction, like,
zvinosanganisira
and we listed
ma-events
them all:
anolidza
asteroids,
ku-extinction
nuclear
yevanhu,
war,
totaura
rogue
ma-asteroids, ma-nuclear
artificial
war
intelligence.
nezvimwe zvana-artificial intelligence.
And what long-termists believe is that right now we're at a
Zvinotendwa
pivotal
nema-long termist
point
ndezvekuti
in Earth's
izvezvi
history.
taapanguva
We're
iri
on a
pivotal
hinge. If we
pahistory
don't
yedu,
step
tiri
in and do
pahinji.
something now,
Tikasapindira tikaita
that
chimwe chinhu nhasi,
if we don't become extinct, we would certainly put humanity
tikasava extinct tinenge
way
taisa
back in the
vanhu
dark ages, and we would possibly never
kumashure
reach our
kuma-dark
full
ages,
potential and go
havazogoni
extinct
kusvika
far
full
earlier.
potential yavo.
So we are in a
Saka
pivotal
tiri
moment
papivotal
in
moment
human history.
pahuman
One
history.
person wrote, we
Munhu
live during the
akanyora,
hinge of history.
takararama
The
pahinji
world's
yehistory.
long-run fate depends in part on the choices we make in our
Nyika
lifetimes.
inodependa nemachoices
Society
atinoita
has not yet
muupenyu
settled
hwedu.
down into a stable
Society
state, and
haisati
we are able to
yava
influence
stable
which
state,
stable
haisati
state
yagona
we end up.
kuinfluenza kuti
So it's up
stable
to
state
us.
yatichapedzisira tiri
So there are
ndeni
all these
zviri
think
kwatiri.
tanks, these
Saka kune
organizations,
kufunga
and they
kwakasiyana
are
kumaorganization
influencing
akasiyana aya,
politics. They are
vari kuinfluenza
getting
politics,
a lot of money.
vari kuwana
Billionaires
mazimari
are funding
akawanda,
them to come
mabhiliyoni
up with
akuvapa
these
kuti
answers
vave
to existential
nema-answers aya
risks, so that we can
kuma-existential
do
risks,
a lot of
kuitira
good by
kuti
saving
tikone
the
kuita
greatest amount
zvakanaka
of people that haven't
pakusevha
been born.
vanhu vakawandisa vasati vazvarwa ava.
So we're talking about atheists.
Saka tiri kutaura nenyaya yema-atheist.
With atheists, it is just like we're talking about
Nema-atheist
self-preservation.
tiri kutaura nenyaya yekuzvichengetedza.
Are atheists moral? Can an
Moral edu
atheist be
yema-atheist,
moral? What does it mean to be
mu-atheist anogona
moral?
kunge ari moral here, zvinomboreveiko kuve moral?
And can atheists be moral?
Mu-atheist anogona kuve moral here.
Any thoughts?
Kana ane pfungwa here?
What is it to be moral?
Zvinorevei kuve moral? Kuve munhu ari moral.
Where do we get our morality from?
Morality yedu tinomboiwana kupiko?
Ray?
Ray?
Sorry. So like we get our morality from prophecy?
Tinowana morality yedu kubva
Yeah, I
kuprophecy.
guess I would define morality overall as like the values and principles that you choose to live by.
Sema-values nema-principles.
Okay. Can you name them?
Hatina unogona
So
doma here.
for us,
Saka
like the
kwatiri
10 Commandments obviously forms
Ma
a
10
like really
Commandments
core part of our morals,
anogadzira mamorals
Yes.
edu.
which you can narrow further down to the 2.
Unogona kuzviita narrow down.
Yes. So morality is just it's knowing what's right
Saka
or wrong.
morality kungoziva
So
kuti chakanaka
the
nechakaipa
10
ndechipi.
Commandments tell us
Saka ma-10
what's right or
commandments
wrong.
anotiudza kuti zvakanaka nezvakaipa
You can
ndezvipi.
do this, you can't do that.
Kuti unogona
Prophecy
kuita
helps
izvi,
us to put
haugoni
those
kuita
10
izvi.
commandments in their right time.
Prophecy
So this is where we
inotidetsera
learn
kuisa
about policy and
ma-commandments aya
principle.
mutime iri right. Ndo
So
patinodzidza
we
nezvepolicy
understand the
neprinciple.
10 Commandments today a little different than
Saka
what Moses
tinodzidzisa
did
ma-10
and what
commandments
Paul
nhasi
did.
zvikasiyana
But the
nezvaidzidziswa naMoses
principle
naPaul.
is the
Asi
same, the
principle
policy
ndiyo imwe cheteyo.
changes. So
Policy
that's
ndiyo
where
inochinja.
prophecy helps us.
Ndo
Lynn?
pandinobatsirwa neprophecy. Lynn?
I was kind of thinking that your first comment about, can atheists be
comment
moral?
yekutanga yekuti
And
ma-atheists
I
vanogona
was
kuve
thinking in
moral
terms
here.
of a lot of people go by the,
maererano nekuti vanhu
do unto
vakawanda
others as you would have them do unto
vanoti
you, which is the golden
itira vamwe
rule, even though
zvaunoda
that
kuti
kind of comes from the
vagokuitirawo
Bible anyway.
golden
A lot
rule
of people live by
inobva
that
kuBible.
kind of
Vanhu
a
vakawanda
rule or
vanorarama
claim to.
nerule iroro.
And so I guess
Saka
basically
ndofunga kuti
anyone can be moral, but not everybody can be righteous.
vamwe vanogona kunge vari moral
And there's a difference
asi
between
haasi munhu
being
wese
moral
ari righteous.
and
Pane difference
righteous.
yekuva moral nekuva
So when
righteous.
they do unto others as they'd
saka
like done unto
paunoitira
them,
vamwe zvaunoda kuti
Oh,
that
zviitwe
we would
kwavari
say they're keeping the 10 Commandments even though
tinoti
they don't
kuchengetedza
recognise
ma10
it.
commandments
to a
kunyange
point, that's true. The other thing I
vasingamacherichedzi
was going to say was
eho
the fact
zviri
that
chokwadi
if you've
kune
got
imwe
all
point
these
zvimwe chandachida
atheists
kutaura
who are
ndechekuti kana une
trying to say, well,
maatheists
we should
vesavo
sacrifice
vari kuzama
ourselves for the
kuti
greater good of
tofanira
those who are coming because
kuzvisacrifica
there's so
kuitira
many more
greater
coming,
good
there's an
yevanhu vari kuuya
altruistic
nekuti kune
factor
vamwe
to
vanhu
that.
vakawanda vari kuuya
So you could
kune
say there's an
altruistic factor
unselfishness
pazvinhu
about
saka vanogona
that
kuti pane
potential.
unselfishness irimo
So,
mupotential iyoyo saka
albeit on the wrong foundation,
zvese
that
zvine zviri
in
pahwaro
itself
huri wrong
does have a sense of altruism about it.
zvine ka-altruism
So
mazviri
it's an
saka
interesting thing.
chinhu chiri interesting
Yes. So
hongu
it has the potential,
zvine potential
depending on what they're sacrificing. Are they
zvotipinda
sacrificing
nekuti vari
themselves? What
kusacrifica
exactly
chii
are they
vari
sacrificing
kuzvisacrifica here
for the greater
Yeah,
good?
icho chavari
yeah,
kusacrifica
absolutely. I
kuitira
mean,
greater
and
good
like I say, it
eho
has an
sezvandataura
altruistic
zvine
sound to it, or an
sound
altruistic
iri
tone
altruistic
to it, let's
kwazviri
say.
kana tone iri
But
altruistic
really, you know,
kwazviri
if you dig
asi
deeper, there may be other
ukanyatsokudiga
factors involved.
zvakadzaka pane mamafactors
And
ari
it may
involved
even come down to the individual,
zvinogona
because maybe
kutodzika
some
kuuya
people
kumunhu ari
do have
individual
very
nokuti vamwe
altruistic
vanhu
motives, whereas
vane
others may have
ma-altruistic motives
far from
vamwe
altruistic
vasina
motives. They might have,
ma-altruistic motives
you know, benefiting
vanogona
themselves
kunge
motives somehow.
vachizvibenefita ivo pacho
So
zvavo
yeah, anyway,
mune
it's just an
mamotives avo saka ingori pfungwa iri
interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, thank you, Ling. It might reminds me
waita
of
basa lini
the Tower of
zvinondirangaridza nenhau yetower of
that,
babel
you
kuti
know, what might have started out
chakagona
as
kunge
thinking they were going to
chakatanga
benefit
ipapo
everybody
sekufunga
eventually
kuti zvaigona
crumbled.
kubenefita vanhu vese
As you said,
zvakazodhirika sezvatataura
they're looking to do what is right, but remember they
vari
didn't want to
kutarisa
follow the
kuti
law. They
voita
wanted to reject
zvakanaka sei
God's law.
vaisada
So they're
kuteedzera
looking to
mitemo
do what is
yamwari
right
vaida
without the
kuramba
law.
mitemo yamwari
And
vaida
that
kutsvaga kuita
only,
zvakanaka vasina
that
murayiro
I guess by their fruits you know them. We see
nemafurutsi
how
avo
that
unozovaziva
ended.
tinoona kuti zvakazoguma sei
Molly?
I thought that morals, you know, when sin happened, that is sort of inbuilt into everyone.
zvandakaona zvinoitika ndechekuti zvakavakirirwa
But I
munhu
mean,
wese
just to live it out, it depends on the
kuzozvirarama
motives and the
zvinobva
intention
nemamotives
everyone's got.
nemaintention ane
People,
munhu
they do it
wese dzimwe nguva vanhu
only because
vanozviita
in a very
nekuda
hypocritical
kwokuti
way. You know, they do it like the Pharisees. They do good works only because someone is there to look at it.
mabasa sezvaita
But, you know,
mapharisees kuti vamwe
when it
vanhu
comes to
vangoona
the Good
zviri
Samaritan
kunze
story, when there was no
asi
one
patinouya
seeing,
panyaya
they very
yegood
quickly on the
samaritan
side go
hapasina munhu
away.
aiona
So really,
vakaenda
morals,
kuseri
it comes
vakatiza
down to
munhu aida kubatsirwa
intention
saka
and the motive
morals
behind.
zvinodzika
But
kuuya
I believe that
kumaintentions
everyone knows what's good and
nemamotives
what's
ari
bad.
kuseri kwezvinhu zvauri kuita munhu wese anoziva zvakanaka nezvakaipa
Okay, that's a good point. When you compare
hongu
the
ipoint
Pharisees to the
yakanaka
Samaritan,
patinokompera
which
mapharisees
one knew what to do
nemasamaritan
what was right? And how did
ndoupi
they know
aiziva
that?
kuita zvakanaka
Because the Pharisees
vakazviziva
knew the
sei
law,
nekuda
and yet they
kwekuti
didn't do what
mafarisi
was
vaiziva
right.
murayiro
So
asi havana
how
kuita
that
zvakanaka
gets
saka kuti
it's just interesting what the mind will do in
zviri
order to
interesting
justify
kuona kuti
itself.
pfungwa dzinoita
When you
sei
think of
kuti
the Pharisees,
dzizvijustify
they were
patinofunga
preserving
nenyaya
themselves,
yemapharisees kuti
preserving their time,
vaizvichengetedza
preserving their reputation,
vachizvichengetedza nguva yavo
and
nereputation yavo
at the expense of somebody else.
paexpense yeumwe munhu
And we saw true altruism in the Good
toona
Samaritan.
altruism yazvokwadi
Thank
musamariya
you, Molly.
akanaka
So let me share
waita basa
something with
Molly.
you.
rega ndimbosheya chimwe chinhu nemi
This is from Science News. They
iyi
did a
iscience
survey.
news vakaita
Atheists and
survey
believers both have moral
maatheists
compasses. So like you
nevatendi
said,
vese vane mamoral
Molly, they
compasses
know what is right
sezvawataura
or
Molly
wrong, but there
vanoziva
are
zvakanaka
key
nezvakashata
differences.
asi pane misiyano iri key
Belief in God associated with stronger
kutenda muna
endorsement of
mwari
moral values that
kunoasociatwa
promote group
nestronger
cohesion.
endorsement
Okay, so
yemamoral
that's the
values
difference. We'll just read the beginning, then we'll read the end. A
ndo
new study
difference
suggests
yacho
that while
study
atheists
itsva
and the
yaisuggesta kuti apo
theists
maatheist
share moral
nematheist
values related to
vachishare
protecting
mamoral
vulnerable
values
individuals
anoita
Atheists
kuti
are less
aprotect
likely to
maindividuals
endorse
vari
values that
vulnerable.
promote group
Maatheist
cohesion and more inclined to judge the
havanyanyi
morality of
kuita
actions based
mavalues
on their
anopromota magroup
consequences.
cohesion.
Thomas Stahl
Vanoisa
of the University of Illinois at Chicago presents these
majudgments ari
findings in this
inclined
journal. This is a
kumaconsequences.
2021 journal. We'll
Istudy
just go down to his
2021.
conclusions here.
Tongosvika
Stahl
pamaconclusions
adds,
ake.
the most general take-home message from these studies is that people who do not believe in
Message
God
yatinotora
do have a moral
kumastudies aya ndeyekuti vanhu
compass. In
vasingatendi
fact,
muna
they
Mwari
share
vane
many of the
moral
same
compass.
moral concerns that
Vanoshare
religious
mamoral
believers have,
concerns
such
akawanda
as concerns about
anove
fairness and about
nemareligious
protecting vulnerable
believers.
individuals from harm.
Kuchengetedza
However,
mavulnerable individuals zvinhu
disbelievers are less
zvakadaro.
inclined than
Asi
believers to endorse moral values
vasingatendi
that
vari
serve
less
group
inclined kuendosa
cohesion,
mamoral
such as having
values
respect for
anosevha magroup
authorities,
cohesions
in-group
sekuva
loyalty, and
nerespect
sanctity.
kumaauthorities
Sanctity is
nesanctity
the understanding that
neloyalty.
something is very important and valuable. Think of it as
Kunzwisisa kuti
holy.
chinhu
We
chiri
talk about the
important
sanctity of
chiri
life,
valuable chiri
that it
holy.
is
Tinotaura
vital,
nezvesanctity yeupenyu
valuable, and
kuti
holy.
upenyu huri vital huri
It is
valuable huri
possible that the
holy ivo
negative
havazvitendi.
stereotype of atheists as immoral may stem in part from the fact that they are less inclined than
Negative
religious
stereotype
people to
yemaatheist
view
inogona
respect for
kubva
authority, in-group loyalty, and
mukuona kwavanoita
sanctity as
mareligious people
relevant for
vane
morality,
respect
and they are more likely to make moral judgments about
authority nezvimwe
harm on
zvakadaro.
a consequentialist case-by-case basis.
Maatheist
Okay,
vanoita
so
judgment
let's have a think about
pamaconsequential
this.
case by case anenge vachistadi.
Does anything come to mind when it says they are
Pane chinouya here mupfungwa pavanoti
where is it? They are less inclined to than believers to endorse moral values that serve group cohesion.
vari less inclined than mabelievers kuendosa mamoral values anoita
If we go back to where we start from, Genesis 11.
Yemagroups. Tikadzokera patatangira kuna Genesis 11.
What ultimately happened to that tower?
Chii chakazoitika kutawa guru iri?
When something is cohesive,
kana chinhu chiri cohesive,
what does that mean?
Zvinorevei?
Stop. Rachel.
Rachel.
Sorry, it's me, Chris.
Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
Cohesion has to do with sticking together. That the conclusion of Babel is a separation.
Yeah, it all fell apart, didn't it? In the end, they couldn't keep it together.
Cohesion,
they had a common purpose, but there was nothing really to keep them together. And that's one of the key differences between atheists and theists, religious people. Is there something in their morality that gathers them that they don't fall apart? Did you want to add anything more to that, Chris?
Chris?
I think my take on, say, atheistic morality is more egocentric than
morality is more egocentric.
Anything's okay as long as you don't harm somebody else.
Chinhu zvese zvakanaka chikuru ndisiri kukuwadza mumwe munhu.
Others more than yourself.
So you can really see self-preservation there.
Saka tinonyatsokuona kuzvichengetedza, kuzvitarisira iwe pachezvako. Tatiri kutarisawo tarisa group kwetu, ndoda kuzvichengetedza inini. Movement.
I want to say Dura, it's not on the wherever the Babel is, I can't remember.
Movement yepatawo yeBhayibheri.
Oh, say it again.
Plain of China.
Thank you. Yes. So.
The plane of China.
Ray, did you want to add something to that?
Ray, wangoda kuitsira here?
No.
Kwete.
I couldn't have said it better than
Josephine.
Is that what you were going to say, Josephine?
Pancho wangu chazotorere Josephine.
Molly? Oh. Okay, Josephine?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I've forgotten what I was going to say. Maybe I'll remember it sometime later.
Molly?
Molly?
Yeah, I thought that they had self-preservation until God got involved. When he start confounding their language.
Mwari atanga kuwapatsanura ndimi dzavo.
Didn't listen to authorities and everybody was on their own.
Wanga asingachateererana hachanzwanani.
They could work together for a while.
Vakagona kushanda pamwe chete
there was
kwechinguva
nothing lasting.
zvazvina kulasta kwenguva.
Okay, so we go back to this. Pick up on. It says they are more likely to make moral judgments about harm on a consequentialist case-by-case basis. What is the basis of their morality? And there is a philosophy called consequentialism.
Inonzi consequentialism.
And one of the consequentialism is kind of an umbrella, but the one that we want to particularly look at today, which is a consequentialist philosophy, is called utilitarianism.
Utilitarianism.
Utilitarianism, because this is the philosophy that is behind long-termism.
Utilitarianism.
So what does that mean? What does it mean to have utility? Something has utility. You can see the word utility in it.
Unoona izwi rekuti utility mazviri. Graham.
Is it useful?
Yeah. Useful. It's think of a ute. What is a ute? It is a vehicle that is able to it has a variety of uses. You know, in the northern hemisphere, Santa Claus has reindeer in a sleigh. In the southern hemisphere, he has 6 white boomers and a rusty Holden ute. You know, utes here are the quintessential vehicle for serving any purpose. So when you have a utility, you have purpose, you have it is the state of being useful, profitable, or beneficial. So if you think of utilities like gas, water, electricity, communication, they're essential services and goods that serve great purpose and need. They're deemed essential. So a utility is functional rather than attractive. It's able to perform several functions, which is definition of a ute. So utilitarianism. What's utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is generally held to be the view that the morally right action is the action that produces the most good. There are many ways to spell out this general claim. One thing to note is that the theory is a form of consequentialism, so it's what's consequential. What creates a consequence? Is that consequence good or is the consequence harmful? The right action is understood entirely in terms of consequences produced. So when it says that atheists will look at the consequences, that is what will determine what is right and wrong. What will give the right amount of good. So utilitarianism was a product of the 18th century. Two philosophers, Bentham and Mills, developed this in the Enlightenment time, this philosophy of utilitarianism. But we want to look at the modern day prophet of utilitarianism. And we're going to come down to the 1970s. I'll just write this. I'm going to write 1971. Let me give you further definition before we go on. Utilitarianism is an ethical theory that determines right from wrong by focusing on outcomes. It holds that the most ethical choice is the one that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number. However, we cannot predict the future, so it's difficult to know with certainty whether the consequences of our actions will be good or bad, and that's one of the limitations of utilitarianism. So there are different types of utilitarianism. They tended to arise to try and fill up the holes of the one that went before. So there's act utilitarianism, rule utilitarianism, preference utilitarianism, and each one came along to try and fix what was wrong with the one that was previous, because you can get into a real muddle with utilitarianism. So if you think about, they do these thought experiments. You're on a railroad track and the tracks split, and on one side you've got one person that's tied to a track, on the other side you've got 5 people tied to a track, the train's coming and you're at the switch. Which way are you going to let that train go? And there's all different varying stories on this same theme. Do you let the train kill the one person to save the 5? And a consequentialist, a utilitarian would say, yes, we do the greatest good, and the greatest good is to save the 5. But that's not always practical, because what if that one person has the cure for cancer? And you've just saved 12 drug lords. It's not practical. They can't tell the future, so you really don't know what the consequences, long-term consequences, are going to be. So they kind of jiggle around in this to try and figure out how to determine what is right or wrong. It's so much easier being a Christian. And even there, I mean, it's not just the law, it is prophecy as well. We have been continually learning what is right and wrong, because we thought we understood what was right, and then anyway, you know how that story goes. So this is utilitarianism. If we want to get to the root of where long-termism has come from, starts back in the 17th century, 18th century. But it starts back. Epicurus was it was a consequentialist, and he was a Greek philosopher. But I want to take you back to 1971. Introduce you to a man called Peter Singer. Peter Singer is an Australian. He studied at Monash.
Peter Singer
and
akanga ari
he's studying
muaustralian
law,
akadzidza
history, and
kumonash,
philosophy.
akadzidza
And
law,
then he
history
decided
nephilosophy.
he would major in philosophy,
Akazodecida kuti
and he got
anomeja
his degree at
muphilosophy.
Monash, and he got a
Akava
scholarship to
nedigiri rake
Oxford.
kumonash.
And he went to
Akazoenda
Oxford and he got
kuoxford.
his
Oxford
a degree of
akava
philosophy in Oxford.
nebachelor
You
degree
get a
rake
degree of philosophy,
philosophy
there's only
Oxford.
a few
Ane degree
universities in the world that
rephilosophy.
you get that.
Kune
It is a
mayunivhesiti
very, very
mashoma anopa degree
prestigious
rephilosophy.
degree when you get your degree
Idegree
in
rine
philosophy. So he got a
prestige
degree
reiro
in philosophy
rephilosophy.
at
Saka ane
Oxford.
degree rephilosophy
So when I say
Oxford.
1971,
Pandinoti
what immediately comes to
1971
mind?
chii chinouya mupfungwa dzedu.
What history are we talking about?
Ihistory ipi yatiri kutaura nezvayo.
Graham?
Second wave feminism?
Yeah,
Second wave feminism.
So second
Wangu
wave
second wave
feminism's been
feminism.
around for a few years. And if you
Yakagara
remember last
kwemakore.
week, Brendan was talking about
Last
how
week
it got
Brandon aitaura
marginalised.
kuti
And there are
yakazova
many reasons it
marginalized
got
sei.
marginalised in
Pane
this
mareasons
history.
akawanda
And
yakava
this is one of
marginalized
them.
muhistory iyi.
So what Peter Singer,
Recent yo
unknown to
Peter
him,
Singer
he is going to start what was known as a moral revolution.
aizotanga
He's going to
yainzi
put out
moral
a paper.
revolution. Anonyora
It's called
bepa
Famine, Affluence and
rinonzi
Morality.
Famine, Affluence and Morality.
Famine, affluence,
Famine, Affluence and Morality.
and morality. And it's going to have a profound influence on
Rinove ne-influence iri profound
students
kuma-students
and on these educational establishments for
vaiva
decades.
kuma-educational establishments aya kwemakore.
Nope. Where is it? So I'll bring it up.
Saka tichaiunza.
He wrote it in 1971. It got
Yakanyora muna 1971.
printed in 1972.
Yakaprintwa
And just read the
muna
very beginning of it.
1972.
He says, as I
Vangoverenga
wrote
kutanga
this
kwayo.
in November
Vanoti
1971, people are
pandinonyora izvi
dying
muna
in East
November
Bengal from
1971.
lack of food,
Vanhu vari
shelter and
kufa
medical care.
nekuda
The suffering and death
kwekuleka
that are
kwefood,
occurring there
shelter
now are not
nezvakadaro.
inevitable, not unavoidable
Kusafa
in any
nekufa uku
fatalistic sense of the
hakusi
term. Constant
kuavoideka.
poverty, a cyclone, and a
Kune
civil war
poverty,
have turned at least
macyclone, civil
9
war
million people into destitute
zvakaita kuti vanhu 9
refugees.
million vave
Nevertheless,
destitute,
it is
vave
not beyond the
marefugee.
capacity of the richer nations to give enough assistance to reduce any further suffering to a very
Nations ari
small
rich havasi
proportion.
kukwanisa
The
kuasistawo.
decisions and actions of human beings can prevent this kind of suffering.
Madecisions nemaactions
Unfortunately,
evanhu
human beings
anogona
have not
kupreventa
made the
kusafa uku,
necessary
asi
decisions.
vanhu havana
At the
kuita
individual
madecisions ari
level, people
necessary.
have, with
Paindividual
very few
level,
exceptions, not
vanhu
responded to the situation in any
havana
significant way.
kuresponda kusituation
Generally
zviri
speaking, people have
significant.
not given large sums to relief
Vanhu havana
funds. They
kunyanya
have
kupa
not written to their parliamentary representatives
significance
demanding
kune
increased
zvinhu
government
izvi. Havana
assistance.
kunyorera
They have
mumaparliament avo
not
kuti vapiwe
demonstrated in the
government
streets,
assistance.
held symbolic
Havana
fasts,
kudemonstrata
or done
mastreets
anything else directed
kana
toward
kuita
providing
zvimwe
the
zvinhu
refugees with the
zvinodirect kuti
means to
marefugees
satisfy their
aya
essential needs.
nemeans
And then
yekusatisfy
he'll go
maneeds
on
avo.
to explain how little
Anobva aendera
the
mberi
government
mukutsanangura
has
kuti
done. The British
hurumende
government
yakaita
had
zvishoma
put
zvipi.
some
Hurumende
pounds into
yekubritain
it, but not near enough. So
yakaisa
when we're
zvimwe
talking about
zvinhu
East
mazviri
Bengal,
asi kwete zviri enough.
Bengal was a territory between
Saka
India.
kune territory yainzi Bengal
Well, it ended up being
yaiva pakati
divided.
peindia
So East
yakazodivide.
Bengal was a province of
East
Pakistan.
Bengal
West
yaiva province
Bengal, India
yePakistan.
took. And then
West
in
Bengal
1971,
yakatorwa
East
neindia.
Bengal
1971
got,
East Bengal
what do you call it when you
Independent.
anyway, it became Bangladesh.
yakazovawo Bangladesh.
What's the word? Independent. They
Yakava
became independent,
independent.
and that's Bangladesh.
Yakava
So there's a lot
independent.
going on, like you
Yakunzi
said.
Bangladesh.
Cyclone, civil war, it's a mess.
Kune macyclone, macivil
Millions are
war
dying.
yaiva
And the
mesi,
government isn't doing
mamiliyoni
anything.
vaifa ikoko, hurumende yange
And
isikuita
so
chinhu.
what he did
saka
is he wrote this essay,
zvaakaita
and in this
akanyora
essay he
essay
argues that people
muessay
were
iyi
morally
anoagiwa kuti
obligated to
vanhu
maximize
vanga
their
vari morally
impact through
obligated
charity
kumaximiza impact yavo
and focus
kubudikidza
on causes
necharity,
that offered the greatest
vokufokasa
quality of life
kumacauses
improvements,
aioffer greatest
such as
quality
those aimed
yemalife
at reducing
improvements,
poverty and
seizvo
mortality in the
zvaiema
global
kuredusa
south.
poverty
So what
nemortality
he did is he told a story,
pasitendere.
and this story has
Saka
got repeated
akataura
over and over
story.
again. You're walking
Story
along a
yakaramba
path in a park, and there's
ichidzokorodzwa.
a pond, and there's a child
Uri
that is
kufamba mupark,
drowning in the
pane
pond.
pond, pane mwana ari
Do you
kunyura
go into the
mupond.
pond even though
Unopinda
you might
mupond
ruin your
here,
shoes,
kunyange
even
zvako
though you
uchigona
might dirty your
kurwina bhutsu
clothes?
dzako, kunyange
You
zvako
don't think
uchizosvibisa hembe
twice,
dzako,
you go and you
haufungi
save the
kaviri,
child.
unopinda wosevha mwana.
But what if that child isn't
Asi
in that
kukana
pond right
mwana
there?
uyu
What if that
asiri
child is
mupondi,
thousands of miles away on the other
kana
side of
mwana
the
uyu
world? Do
ari
you have
ma-thousands
any
of
less obligation
miles
in helping that child, even though there's a
across the
distance?
world? Une same obligation here
Distance
yekusevha mwana uyu,
doesn't make a
kunyange
difference.
paine distance.
So this is what he's
Distance
saying
haimake a
here.
difference, ndo zviri kutaurwa
Distance shouldn't
naPeter
affect
saying.
our
Distance haifani
charitable help.
kuafekta help yedu
This is going to
chete.
develop. I think you can
Izvi
see that when we come down
zvichadevelop,
to
I think
long-termism,
tozviona kuti
it's
patinouya
going to be
kulong
distance of
termism,
time, not distance
ingori
in kilometers or miles.
distance
So this is
in
going to
time, kwete
develop
distance
from a time
yemakilometers.
factor,
Saka izvi
a
zvichadevelopa
distance
kubva
factor
kudistance
into
factor
time.
yemakilomita kuenda mutime factor.
So what if the
Saka
child was not directly
kana mwana
in
uyu
front of you?
anga asiri
What if
pamberi
instead of
pako,
drowning, the child was in mortal
pachinhambo
danger due to lack of
chekumusiya
food, water, or
achinyura
medical treatment?
nekuda
And what if instead
kwekushaya
of jumping into the
chikafu
water,
nemedical
the only way
treatment,
you can save the child's life is to donate to charity?
kana nzira yoga yekusevha mwana
So,
iri
and he says the
yekungudoneta kucharity.
uncontroversial
Obva
appearance of the
ati
principle just
appearance
stated
iri
is deceptive.
uncontroversial
If it were
inongotaurwa
acted
iri
upon,
deceptive,
even in its
kunyange
qualified form,
ikaitwa,
our
kunyange iri
lives, our
muqualified
society,
form
and our
yayo,
world would be
kunyange
fundamentally
asociety
changed.
yedu nenyika
For the
yedu kuti inge
principle
iri
takes,
fundamentally changed.
firstly, no account of
Saka
proximity or distance. It makes
principle
no moral
inotora
difference whether the person I can
haitori
help is a
account
neighbour's child 10 yards from me
yedistance,
or a
haina basa kuti
Bengali
mwana uyu
whose
ari
name I
kure
shall never
sei
know,
nepandiri,
10,000 miles away.
hazvinei kuti ari
Secondly,
kure
the
kure sei.
principle makes no distinction
Chechipiri,
between cases in
haiti
which I am the
distinction
only
pakati
person who could
pemacases
possibly do
apo
anything
ndirini munhu
and
wega
cases in which I
anogona
am
kuita
just
chinhu,
one
kana
among
kuti
millions in the same
macases
position.
ekuti ndingoriwo
So if
munhu
you were
pakati
standing
pemamiliyoni
on
anogona
the edge
kuita
of the
chinhu.
pond and there were other people with
Saka
you and they weren't jumping in,
pari papondi
then you
pava
could say,
paine
oh,
vamwe
well,
vanhu
it's okay
vanogona
that I don't
kujamba
jump in because
neni,
they're not jumping
so
in.
vanogona kuti
Says, no,
handigoni
it doesn't
kujamba
work
nokuti
like
vamwe
that
havasi
either.
kujamba.
That's not moral either.
Anoti izvi hazvisi
You
moral
have
zvakare.
that moral obligation. So this paper is going
Pepa
to,
iri
in 1971 it goes viral,
muna 1971
whatever
rinoita
viral
viral.
looks like in 1971, and
Viral
it's
kuti yaireve
going
muna
to
1971
affect a lot of these
zvakangosiyanawo
Oxford philosophers at
nezvayakureva
first,
zvinoita.
and then it travels around
Maphilosophers
the world.
ekuoxford ndo anotanga aiongorora
So
and
just
then
before
rozotenderera pasi
we,
tenderera.
we're going to continue this timeline next week,
Ticharamba
but
chienderera
I'd
mberi
like to
nenyaya
talk to you a
yedu
bit more
next week,
about
asi ndoda kungotaurawo
Peter
zvakanyanya
Singer.
nenyaya yaPeter Singer.
He's also known, there's another revolution that is going to happen
Pane imwe
because of
revolution
him,
ichaitika
his
zvakare nokuda
writings in
kwake
this time period
nezvinyorwa
that is
zvake
also going to
munguva iyi
marginalize second wave feminism.
yaizomarginaliza second wave
He writes
feminism.
in
Anonyora muna
1975.
1975.
He's going to write a book called
Anonyora
Animal
bhuku rinonzi Animal
Liberation.
Liberation.
He's at Oxford. He goes and gets his lunch. He's with a
Ari
friend.
kuOxford
The friend finds
anoenda
out that
kulunch
there's
neshamwari
mince
yake.
meat
Shamwari
in
yake
the
anoziva
spaghetti
kuti mune
bolognese,
mince
so he
meat
decides to have the
mune
salad.
spaghetti
And then
bolognese.
Singer
Saka anoti
asks him,
ndava
why
kudya
aren't you
salad.
having
Singer oti ko sei usiri
the spaghetti
kudya
bolognese? And he gets a
spaghetti
lesson
bolognese.
in factory farming
Obva apiwa
and
lesson yefactory farming.
the terrible abuse of animals, and he looks into it and goes home to his wife and says, I don't think we can morally eat meat anymore. And he writes this paper called Animal Liberation. This paper is going to go on to inspire in 1979 the people for the ethical treatment of animals. They all refer to Peter Singer's work as the foundation of the animal liberation movement. So we'll just share this and have a little chat. Okay, so this is from the PETA website. So this is actually 2015 because it is the 40th anniversary of animal liberation. And so they have this write-up on Peter Singer's book and how it started PETA. So let's read a little bit from Peter Singer's work. Animal liberation may sound more like a parody. You've got to think it's 1971. This is a new term in 75. New term back then. We're used to it. This is very new. Animal liberation may sound more like a parody of other liberation movements than a serious objective. The idea of the rights of animals actually was once used to parody the case for women's rights. When Mary Wollstonecraft published her Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792, her views were widely regarded as absurd. And before long, an anonymous publication appeared entitled A Vindication of the Rights of Brutes. The author of this satirical work, now known to have been Thomas Taylor, a distinguished Cambridge philosopher, tried to refute Mary Wollstonecraft's arguments by showing that they could be carried one stage further. If the argument for equality was sound when applied to women, why should it not be applied to dogs, cats, horses? So this is Peter Singer talking. When we say that all human beings, whatever their race, creed, or sex, are equal, what is it that we are asserting? Like it or not, we must face the fact that humans come in different shapes and sizes. They come with different moral capacities, different intellectual abilities, different amounts of benevolent feeling and sensitivity to the needs of others, different abilities to communicate effectively, and different capacities to experience pleasure and pain. In short, if the demand for equality were based on the actual equality of all human beings, we would have to stop demanding equality. The existence of individual variations that cut across the lines of race and sex, however, provides us with no defence at all against a more sophisticated opponent of equality. One who proposes that, say, the interests of all those with IQ scores below 100 be given less consideration than the interests of those with ratings over 100. Perhaps those scoring below the mark would in this society be made the slaves of those scoring higher. Would a hierarchical society of this sort really be so much better than one based on the race and sex? I think not. But if we tie the moral principle of equality to the factual equality of the different races or sexes, taken as a whole, our opposition to racism and sexism does not provide us with any basis for objecting to this kind of egalitarianism or inequality. One more paragraph. Fortunately, there is no need to pin the case for equality to one particular outcome of a scientific investigation. There is no logically compelling reason for assuming that a factual difference in ability between two people justifies any difference in the amount of consideration we give to their needs and interests. The principle of the equality of human beings is not a description of an alleged actual
prescription
equality among humans.
ye-equality
It is a prescription of how we
pakati
should
pevanhu.
treat human beings.
I-prescription yekuti tinofanira kutrita sei vanhu.
So what he is going to go on to say, so have a think
Achazoendera
about
mberi
that.
mukutaura, imbofungai zvataverenga
What
izvo.
he is going to go on to say is
Zvaachatanga kutaura ndezvekuti
racism. We discriminate
racism
people on the basis of
tinodiscriminata vanhu
different races.
nebasisi
Sexism,
yemaraces
we
akasiyana.
discriminate
Sexism
people on the basis of
tinodiscriminata
different
vanhu
sex.
nebasisi
But
yemadifferent
he also
sexes.
says there is
Asi
speciesism.
anosoti pane speciesism.
So we're atheists. We're all animals.
Tese tiri maatheists,
We're all of the same
tiri mhuka,
species.
tese tiri
And we shouldn't
maspecies.
discriminate against another
Hatifaniri
species.
kudiscriminata
So he
against
is
imwe
going to
species.
put
Saka
race,
achaisa
sex,
race,
species in the
nemaspecies
same
same
considered the same. So if we go back
anotaura kuti zviconsiderwe
to
zvakafanana.
our
Saka tikadzokera
document,
kudocument redu,
the principle of equality of human beings is
principle
not a description of
ye-equality
an
yevanhu
alleged
haisi
actual
description
equality among humans.
ye-equality
It is a
iri
prescription
alleged
of how we
iri
should
yatsva
treat
kuvanhu.
human beings.
I-prescription
So,
yekuti tofanira kutrita vanhu
does
sei.
anybody catch what he's been saying in these
Pane
three
munhu
paragraphs?
abata zvanga achitaurwa here mumaparagraph
Somebody like to
yataverenga.
sum it up and put it in
Munhu
their
anoda
own
kuti
words.
samaraisira nekuisa mumazwi ake zvanga zvichitaurwa apa.
What's he comparing?
Ari kukompeya chiiko munhu uyu?
Graham.
Is he saying equal but separate?
Ari kutaura here kuti equal asi takasiyana, tiri separate.
His words are very difficult for me to
Takapatsana.
understand. I don't have the IQ to
Mazwi
be able
ake
to get around that.
handisi kunyatsokumagona kumanzwisisa. IQ yangu ishoma
Don't
kuzwisisa.
qualify your statements. Yes, you do. What we're looking at is some of the dumbest
Chatiri
smart
kutarisa
people in the world.
vanhu vari
Two
dhamu
holder.
vanga vari smart.
Just because they've got degrees
Nekuda kwekuti
doesn't
vane
mean
madegree
that
hazvirevi
they
kuti
understand.
vaigona kunzwisisa zvinhu zvaiitika.
Any other thoughts? So what did you say, Graham?
Graham, wati kudii?
Could you
I was
repeat that?
wondering if it was saying equal but separate.
Ndandichifunga kuti ari kuti
Not
I
kuenzana
think what he's
asi
saying is they're not
takapatsana.
equal.
Ndofunga kuti ari kuti
We just got to
hazvisi
treat
equal.
each other as if we were
Tofanira
equal.
kungotritawo each other kunge tatiri equal asi hatizi equal. Ndozvaari kutaura.
When we say that all human beings, whatever their race, creed, or sex, are equal, what is it that we are asserting? He says, like it or not, we're
Race
not
yavo
equal.
kana sex yavo chii chatiri kuaseta?
We all come in different sizes.
Ari
We
kutaura
all
kuti
got
hatisi
different
equal. Tinouya
capabilities. We all
mumasaizi
got different
akasiyana, tine
intellects,
macapability
different
akasiyana, maintellect
emotions. We are not
akatosiyana,
equal.
maemotions
But we
akasiyana,
treat
hatizi
each
equal.
other as if we are.
Asi
We
ngatingotritanaiwo
have to
sekunge
treat each other as if we are
tinofanira
equal.
kungonzi tinzi titrite
The
each other
principle of
sekunge
equality
tiri
of human
equal.
beings is not a
Principle
description of an
ye-equality
alleged
human beings
actual equality. It's not actual.
haisi
It is a
equality itori
prescription of
actual.
how we should
Ingori
treat human beings. So
prescription
we
yekuti
treat each
tofanira
other
kutritana sei.
as if we are equal.
Kuti ngatitritanei sekunge tiri equal kunyange tisiri zvedu.
Now, who have I? Brody.
Brody.
It's amazing to me that his conclusion seems to be that
Zvinoshamisa kwandiri kuti
if
maconclusions
you're
ake
going
anoita
to say
sekunge
that the genders
kana
are equal,
tikataura kuti
then you might
magender
as
ari
well
equal,
say that
unofanira
animals
kubva
and humans
wataura
are
kuti
equal.
ma-equals
It
vanhu
seems to
nemhuka
sum up
zvakaenzana.
his opinion on the differences between the genders.
summary yeopinion yake
And he
yedifference
is going to
yemagenders.
say that we are equal with
Saka ari
animals.
kuti
This is animal
takafanana
liberation. This
nema-animals.
is the
Iyi i-animal
philosophy
liberation.
behind the
Ndiyo
organizations
philosophy
such as
iri kumashure
PETA and others.
maorganization akaita kunge Petra nezvimwe.
Speciesism is a form of discrimination
Speciesism
of one species to another
i-discrimination
species.
kubva kune one species kuenda pane imwe species.
They will use the example of the,
Vanoshandisa
we
mienzaniso
say
yekuti tinoti
gorillas
magorilla
and oysters are both animals,
nema-oysters ese
and we put
ma-animals.
ourselves
Saka
on top
isusu
of them both.
tinozviisa pamusoro
We control both of
pezviviri
them. Yet we're
tinokontrola
more
zvese
aligned with
zviviri
gorillas
izvi.
than we are with an oyster. Why would
Asi
we lump
takanyanya kuenzana
gorillas and oysters
negorilla
together?
than
They're
oyster.
not
Saka sei
equal,
tichifananidza
but
gorilla
we should
neoyster
treat them like
hazvina
they are.
kuenzana asi tofanira kuzvitrita sekunge zviri equal. Ndokufunga
So
kwaunoita uku.
he didn't invent this term,
Saka
but what he
haana
did was
kuinventa term iyi asi
there was
chaakaita
another philosopher who actually
akanga paine mumwe
mentioned this
philosopher
term. But what Peter Singer did was he popularized it.
Peter
So
Singer
he wrote this
zvaakaita
paper,
akangoita
Animal
kuti
Liberation. He
ritekeshe
wrote about
akanyora pepa
speciesism,
rainzi animal liberation akanyora
and he
nezvespeciesism
claimed that it is
akaklema
analogous.
iye
It is the
kuti
same as
zvakafanana
racism and sexism and other
neracism
forms of irrational
nesexism
discrimination and
nemamwe
prejudice.
maforms e-irrational discrimination
So
neprejudice.
behind utilitarianism is the understanding
Paseri
that we really aren't equal.
pe-utilitarianism
We just need to be
kunzwisisa
nice
kuti
to each
hatina
other.
kunyatsokuenzana tofanira kungoitiranawo
We should
zvakanaka
treat each other as if we are, even though we're not
tofanira
really.
kungotiitanawo sekunge tiri equal kunyange tisiri equal chaizvo chaizvo.
Molly?
Molly?
My understanding is that he said that we're not equal, but
ari kuti hatina kuenzana
through our
asi
action, it affects
burikidza nema-actions edu
everyone's
zvinoaffect
equally, like even the same with the
munhu
animals.
wese
So
zviri
he sort
equal
of
kunyange nema-animals.
make
Saka
us equal in the sense that with animals, in the sense that by the action and choice of one person is affect different person. It's like how the animals being affected by an action of another animal.
action yeimwe
But
mhuka
equally,
inoaffecta
we're
action
not the
yeimwe
same.
mhuka
We're not
asi
equal with them,
hatina
but we
kuenzana
throughout the choice
hatizi
that we
equal
make and the action that we do, we are equally treated
asi
each other.
ma-actions edu
Because it's
atinoita
affected
ngatititanei zviri equal nekuti zvinoaffecta mumwe munhu.
Okay. So
Okay,
if we were to,
saka dei
if we would reject his
dei tairamba
reasoning at the same time,
kufunga kwake
how do we treat animals as Christians?
pasame time tinotiita mhuka
Do we
sei
treat them as our equal?
sevakristu tomadzitriita sema-equals edu here? Kwete.
No. So our relationship is
Saka
is
relationship
that they are
yedu
God's creation, therefore we are
ndeyekuti
stewards.
zvisikwa zvamwari saka isusu tiri vatariri.
So a utilitarian approach is you have
Saka
to do the
approach
greatest good
yeutilitarian ndeyekuti unofanira
for
kuita
the animal
zvakanakisisa
kingdom
zvikuru
as well as
kukingdom
for human
yema-animals
beings.
zvakare kuvanhu.
And that sounds really
Zvinoita
good,
sekunge
but we
zvakanaka
would say that
asi
it's based
tinoona
on
kuti
a wrong
zvakanga
foundation
zviri
of what
based
equality is. It's
pafoundation
based on
iri
speciesism.
wrong yekuti
So we
equality chii
still
zviri
believe
based
in
nespecism.
looking after
Saka
animals,
tinotenda
but we
mukutarisa
don't
kuvatariri
put animals
vemhuka
before
asi
human
hatiisi
beings.
mhuka pamberi
We
pevanhu.
understand where they are in God's
Tinonzwisisa
creation, but if you're an
kuti zviri
atheist,
papi muzvisikwa
what's the
zvamwari. Asi
difference
kana uri
between a
muatheist,
human being
difference
and an
pakati
animal? We are
pemunhu
animals.
nemhuka
So,
chii? Tiri
it
mhuka.
would make sense. So there were
Kwaari
people that
zvinomeka
stood
sense.
up against
Saka
speciesism because
pane vanhu
they read his
vakamira
paper and
against
said, you're
speciesism nekuti
comparing
vakaverenga
apples and
bepa
oranges
rake
here.
vakati ivo muri kukompera
It's
maapple
not,
nemaorenji hazvizi.
Yeah, basically it's wrong methodology, but it's wrong methodology based on an understanding that keeps God out of the equation. So we've looked at, so Ray, have you got something to add?
Sorry, go Molly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add because God says that we have to have dominions over all the
and
that's discrimination.
Animals, yes. And your discrimination.
No, we are not different. We're supposed to look after them. We're supposed to.
Yes. So when I said it's discrimination, I'm talking like an atheist, like somebody that is against speciesism.
Atheist. Against species.
Yes, to have dominion over something, that means to come up over that. So I just want to keep this in mind, because this is all happening. This is all distracting. This is all marginalizing second wave feminism, and these thoughts are going to continue into our history. Ray, you had something to add?
Ray,
I just had a question. Where does this fit with, like, remember reviewing the Vespers I did on Wednesday night on the agenda from Darwin to Dawkins? It's talking about how, like, social Darwinists didn't agree with welfare programs and things like that, and eugenics and things. Early ones were in favor of eugenics because they saw it as speeding up the process of evolution and natural selection. So what sort of take does evolution in natural selection do people with that philosophy have on speciesism? Is that part of why they're against it?
So really, this is just, it was referred to as a moral revolution. So they, Peter Singer is going to take utilitarian philosophy and apply it to charitable work, to altruism. So how are we going to treat people in need? Also, how are we going to treat animals? We've looked at this because what he's done with speciesism is compared it to racism and sexism. So you can understand why they might be promoting gender equality, but behind all that, they don't actually believe that we are equal. We just need to be nice to each other. We should treat each other as if we're equal. So we should treat animals like we're equal. That means we shouldn't subject them to pain that we wouldn't be prepared to take. So a lot of good came out of this as far as factory farming and all. Well, some bad things happened because they were quite radical activists, but some of them were blowing up places, and the activism was quite, it was terrorism more than activism. So, we're looking at the philosophy. So yes, it's Darwinism because we're all evolved from common ancestor. It's just some of us have evolved more than others, and we are not to discriminate on those that haven't, because we're all equal. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Ray.
Yeah, I think so. That's where we get people like Sea Shepherd and things.
Yeah. And you will find that the atheism there is causes just as much trouble. When we think of what it was like when we studied New Atheism and the Trinity and the Four Horsemen, all the problems that existed there as far as their understanding of feminism, you're going to find in these movements as well. Even though they are altruistic in their mind, they're using utilitarianism philosophy, and it gets them into knots, which we'll see as we go forward. But
tinozoona kuti
So we
inovapinza
could just sum
patinoenda
up
mberi.
what he has begun to say
Kana
is that
uchigona kupindira
morally
zvatakutanga
we are
kutaura
obligated
ndezvekuti morally
for the
tiri
people that are
obligated
distance from
kuitira
them
vanhu
as much as we are obligated for
vari
those that are
distanced.
near. And this is what long-termists are going to use
Izvi
eventually too as it
ndozvinoshandiswa
evolves.
nemalong termists
So we might have to stop it there for time. Josephine, if you could keep your question for next week.
Josephine,
We'll review and keep going leading up to, we're working on the history of where the roots of long-termism began.
Yekuti mudzi welong
So on that
termism
note,
wakabvira papi. Saka panoti iroro,
Brody, would you close in prayer for us this evening?
Lord, nogona kutivharirawo
Thank you,
nemunamato
Lord,
here.
for this
Mwari wedu
opportunity
kudenga,
to consider
tokutendai
and study
neopportunity
the world around us, Lord, with the
yekukonsida nekustata
perspectives
nyika
that you've given us through your
yakatitenderedza
messages. And I ask, Lord, that
nemaperspective amakatipa kubudikidza
you would
nemameseji enyu.
prepare us,
Tokumbira Mwari
give us a firm foundation for our feet so that we
mutigadzirewo,
know what
mutipawo
position to take
foundation
on these issues as
yakasimba
they are increasingly
pamakumbo
before
edu,
us.
tizive mapositions
Lord, I
api
pray
ekutora
that as we enter
pamaissues
this
aya ari
Sabbath,
kuwedzera
that
pamberi
you
pedu.
would
Tonamata kuti patiri kupinda
that you would be with
musabata
each
kuti
one of
Mwari
your people,
muve
that
neumwe neumwe
we would
wavanhu venyu,
be blessed, that
kuti
and
tikukomborerwa,
strengthen each other. We thank you for all you have done
tikosimbisanawo.
for us this week, and we ask in Jesus'
Tokutendai
name.
nezvizvo zvamakatiitira vhiki rino.